AI and automation is an area that most companies are investing in to generate more revenue and stay ahead of the competition. According to Thomson Reuters 2026, 40% of organizations are now using Gen AI, up from 22% last year. But only 18% are actually measuring ROI from their AI initiatives. And from those who do measure it, 77% focus solely on internal cost savings, while only 23% track revenue generation. With agentic AI being on the rise and having more and more potential to automate even more complex processes in your business, how do you actually know if you're betting on the right projects? Calculating the return on investment on your ideas and projects can be a helpful way to determine whether you are investing your money on the right projects. In this video, I will show you how to calculate ROI for revenue generating automation projects and compare it against cost saving initiatives. We will cover first an ROI fundamentals recap, really quick, cost savings versus revenue generation calculations for ROI, and when to prioritize each. And third, a real revenue generation example with a calculator you can use. As always, links in the description down below. Hey guys, my name is Steven and I have been researching and building AI systems since 2016. My goal is to help you pick the right initiatives for your business to increase productivity and profit. So let's get started. There are two forms of ROI that are depending on when you actually calculate it. First, there is the anticipated ROI, which is used when you select projects you want to invest in. And then there is the actual ROI, which you use when you compare completed initiatives to inform future decisions. And how is ROI actually calculated? First, let's talk about the ROI percentage. The ROI percentage focuses on pure profit efficiency. So it's basically your net profit divided by the total cost, with the net profit being the total return of the investment minus the cost. So for example, you spend $1,000 on an AI initiative and you get a total of $3,000 back. So your ROI percentage is calculated then as the $3,000 you get back minus the spend of $1,000 divided by the $1,000 of the cost. And that results in a 200% ROI. Second, the ROI multiple, which is basically the same number in a different form. And the ROI multiple focuses on the total cashback you get from that investment. So this one is calculated as the total return divided by the total investment. With the same example from before, your spend is $1,000 on that initiative and you get again $3,000 back. So your ROI multiple is then $3,000 divided by $1,000, which results in a 3x ROI. What does that now actually mean in terms of your investment decisions? So to put that on a scale that translates these numbers, basically when you have a 0% return or a 1x in the multiple, you are break even. That means you invest $1,000 and you get exactly $1,000 back. No money gained, no money lost. If the percentage gets negative or the multiple gets below 1, then you lost money on that project. And on the same hand, if you are getting higher percentages than 0 or than the multiple higher than 1x, then you are making money. So for example, if you get a 2x return on your investment or 100%, you doubled basically your invested money. A common mistake is confusing the two. The ROI multiple includes your original investment into the calculation, versus the ROI percentage does not include it and focuses purely on the gains. With this basic recap now in mind, let's focus on the actual differences between the cost savings ROI calculations and the ones for the revenue generation. And the choice between the two is basically strategic and depends on your use case. For the cost savings ROI, you obviously calculate the ROI that depends on the money that you save through automation and AI applications. So for example, when you want to automate processes that take a lot of manual time and you reduce the manual time down from 2 hours to 10 minutes, then you can calculate the ROI based on the money you invested to the time that you saved. And it's important to consider that the cost savings ROI has a kind of a ceiling. So you cannot eliminate more than 100% of the total cost of that particular process. With the revenue generation ROI, on the other hand, you have theoretically no limit. So you are creating new money that didn't exist before through these processes. And when we take a look at some other comparison factors between the two, for example, the attribution, that means that depends on the data you gather for these calculations. For the cost savings ones, it's pretty easy. You can, for example, use time tracking tools and software to measure the time before the automation that you spend on that process and then after and compare the two. For the revenue generation ones, on the other hand, this is usually a little bit more difficult because you can't really attribute exactly what type of the revenue increase came from what type of the automation versus other factors, for example, different generated ads or better sales scripts in your teams and so on. As I said before, the ROI potential is capped for the cost savings ones, but theoretically unlimited for the revenue generation. And you should use the cost saving ones, for example, in businesses where there are tight margins or the business is more mature and you want to refine and optimize processes. However, the revenue generation one you might want to use when your business is in strong growth mode and you are investing in initiatives that are supposed to scale up and support this growth. The remainder of this video will focus now solely on the revenue generation calculations, and I will just start with that in a second. If you are interested in the cost savings approach and also in the ideation process on how you can find actually processes to eliminate manual effort and save costs in your business, then check out the video that I just did before where I walk you step by step through the exact process. So let's jump into the revenue generation ROI calculator. Here is a revenue generation ROI calculation that I did for another business. And let me walk you through step by step through this example. So first, let's talk about the baseline. This business had around 8,000 high potential qualified leads per year. And their current conversion rate before the automation was around 0.5%. So that results in around 40 conversions per year. And their average deal value, the average package value that they sold was around 7,500 US dollars. This results in an annual revenue of $300,000, which is our baseline revenue. And after the automation, we anticipated that the improved conversion rate was a conservative 0.5% increase, so to 1%, which is a 2x improvement with the AI process in place, which results then in 80 new conversions in the year and a new annual revenue of 600,000. What were the anticipated costs for this whole initiative? The implementation cost, the consulting fee for that project were $50,000, and the annual tool cost was anticipated to be around $6,000. So the first year cost was, the total cost of the investment was 56,000 US dollars. And let's talk now about the ROI metrics that we were expecting for that. The year one total return is $300,000. This is the newly additional generated revenue, because without the automation, they already made 600,000 minus the baseline, which is 300,000. This results in a net profit of these 300,000 minus the total project cost for the implementation and the annual tools in $244,000. And if you do the math based on the formula that we did before, that results in an ROI multiple of 5.4x or 436%. And if you think about the payback period that takes a month to pay for this project cost, this is just 2.2 months to break even, or 8 additional sales needed in the entire year from this initiative. If you want free access to the ROI calculator spreadsheet, then check out the links in the description below. And also, please let me know in the comments if you are actually calculating ROI for your AI initiatives and whether this is on a cost savings or a revenue generation approach. And also feel free to check out the video that I did before on the idea generation for cost savings automations and a detailed step-by-step walkthrough of the calculations for those ones. Thank you very much for watching and see you next time.